Hello and welcome to a special edition of DSU Inside Perspective. I'm Carlos Holmes, and today we have a special guest with us, filmmaker Lee Daniels. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so blessed to have you here.
It's nice
Mr. Daniels is coming here today to share some of his experience here at Delaware State University in the film industry, and we just decided to get him on just to talk with him a little bit about his experiences in making movies. The Butler. That was not the title that you ended up sticking with. You had to name it Lee Daniels The Butler. What happened with that?
Well, why isn't it up there then? This is The Butler. It should say Lee Daniels The Butler.
That's true.
That's okay. I'll take The Butler. I don't care.
Did that disappoint you when you found out that you had to change that?
It did, a little bit. Because, you know, I teach also. I teach at a place called the Ghetto Film School. And I, you know, I don't profess to be Tyler Perry. I think that the work is more important than your name. And so that's what I pass on to my students. And so when the MPAA, the ratings board, because Warner Brothers said, you can't use this film title because we have a film title named The Butler.
And I understand it was a 1916 film or something
A short.
A short.
Ain't nobody seen it. For whatever reason. And so they forced me to take the title Lee Daniels The Butler, and I had a problem with it in the beginning, you know. But
now?
Well, you know, my ego kicked in as I was at the night of the premiere. As I looked up at the Ziegfeld Theater in New York, I saw my name, and I did get a little butterflies. But yeah, I don't believe that directors should have their names in front of their. I mean, you know. Some Quentin Tarantino does certainly, and certainly so does Tyler, but I don't.
Well, in this case, it is. You know, David Glasser, the Weinstein Company chief operating officer, said that he said fundraising for an independent film is a movie in and of itself. Was there a point in time? I understand one of the original producers ended up passing away early on. And was there a time when you thought this movie wasn't going to be made?
No. Because everything I set out to do, I make.
Okay.
It's all in God's time, I think. I was frustrated that of the no's that we were getting, but I got no's for Monsters Ball. You know, I got no's for Precious. And those were far harder movies to put together. It's frustrating, but never a time of doubt, because I believe in God, and God has always, you know, sort of led me where it is that I'm at, or to be.
Yeah. In The Butler, you streamline a lot of civil rights history. It just takes us through the 1950s, through the 1960s, and you deal with some difficult scenes, such as the Freedom Bus attack and the sit-ins, the rehearsals of the sit-ins, the actual sit-ins where the participants had to face a lot of abuse. How taxing was that on the directors, and what were the directorial challenges that you faced in staging those?
Yeah. Well, because a lot of kids don't know really the depth of racism. We're in a different world today. I mean, yeah, we scream racism. You know, we say it, but we don't really know what it was like then. You know, it's gotten so much better now.
Do you feel that in your portrayals of those?
Well, let me answer your question, because I want to make sure I'm clear. But when I was shooting the scene on the bus, I assume that you've seen the film.
And, yes, several times.
And there were kids that were interracial relations. There were extras that, and at the counter too, where there were boyfriend and girlfriends that were white and black, and they were together as a couple, or friends, and so, but they had to be separated, you know, for the action that we were doing, and I think that they really got a taste of what it was like. I mean, they were very traumatized by it because it's so incomprehensible to do the types of things that were done. And so I think that it was an educational experience for everybody because it was an atrocity that we couldn't believe was happening. And what I learned from it was that shooting on the bus was that it wasn't just African Americans that were fighting for our freedom. There were as many white kids that were there coming down south, because so many black kids were told by their parents that they couldn't go. So these white kids were also, you know, fighting for the freedom and the soul of our country. So, I mean, it was a learning experience for me too, in many, many ways. And, you know, I thought the civil rights movement was an African American movement only. It was really an American movement, because so many whites and Jews and, you know, so many people were there for the cause of freedom.
And it transformed our country.
It did. Now you can answer.
Well, that answered my question there. I could sit here and talk all day about The Butler, because I love the movie.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I put it in my top list of movies already. And,
thank you.
And but you've done other work. You've produced a number of other movies. And I noticed in The Butler, you had, at the beginning of the movie, you had Mariah Carey. And Mariah Carey has been in a couple of other movies you've been involved with, Tennessee.
Yeah, she talks me into it. She talks me into it. Well, she's she's a friend, but some kind of way she's always around. Like, she becomes really good friends with me right before I start casting a movie. So she's lucked into a couple of, and we're very good friends, and I love working with her, and she's like my little sister, and I like bossing her around.
Well, now, I must admit, the first time I saw her in a movie was a movie that you had nothing to do with, Glitter. And I thought, maybe she needs to stick to music, you know. Yeah. But she was very good.
That's not nice.
She was very good in
Tennessee. That's not nice.
No, but she was very good in Tennessee.
Did you like her in Tennessee?
Yes, I did.
Thank you very much.
And she was very good in Precious.
Thank you. She's very good in Precious.
And that was a very pivotal scene. I believe that was the scene that probably won Monique the Academy Award that she won.
Yeah, it was a really difficult scene to do. But those girls, you know, all three women, you know, threw themselves at me in a way that you have to open up your heart and open up your mind and come into my world. And and that's the reason why I work with Mariah, because she, you know, people think that she's a diva and all that kind of stuff, but she's a very, very special woman, and a very caring woman, and I think all that diva crap is just to act, because under it all, she really is a kind human being, and she takes my direction.
Well, I think you probably helped develop her as an actress.
Well, she was, you know, you saw a moment, if you really study Glitter, there are moments that she's good. You know, you're as good as your director, I think. You know, I think that you are as good as your director and your editor. Yeah.
Well, now, you have not been afraid to take on some very difficult subjects. I really wasn't familiar with you per se, but when I saw The Woodsman.
Yeah.
And that's a movie about a pedophile.
Yes.
You know, a pedophile that gets out of jail and he has to, you know, kind of assimilate back into society. You're not afraid to take on stories like that. It seems to me that you know a good story when you see it.
I'm always moved by situations around me. And at the time, I had just finished Monsters Ball. And I knew that we were, you know, I knew that as an African-American filmmaker that I had to do something that was different, that was not just, you know, your run-of-the-mill that we've seen before, and I really wanted to establish a brand for me. And my twins, my partner and I had twins, and they were 6 or 7, and there was a poster I live in New York, on 74th in Amsterdam, there was a poster about a pedophile that was in the neighborhood. And I was fascinated by that. I was nervous for my kids, and then so I just didn't want my kids around them, you know. So I was trying to figure out, and I started studying pedophilia, and 1 out of 4 Americans, kids, are sexually abused, and it was fascinating to me to understand. Like, I wanted to understand the psyche and the mind and the why someone could touch a kid, and if there was a cure. And so that led to Woodsman, and I'm the first African American to win at Cannes because of that movie. That was a great moment for me. I was very excited about that. Nobody saw it, but in America, but But you saw it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. While we're basking in the light of Lee Daniels The Butler, what's next for you? Have you already started working on your next project?
I'm writing, always writing, and there are a couple things I'm working on. I'm not sure what it is that I'm going to do next, but whatever God tells me to do, it'll come to me.
Well, I wish we had more time, and I wish you the best.
Thank you,
we're really watching your career, and we're so glad that you're blessing us here at Delaware State University with
Shout out to Delaware State University.
Yes, yes. Thank you for joining us for another episode of DSU Inside Perspective. Mr. Daniels, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Catch it on YouTube. Thank you very much.